Viewer, Trump's latest regime change adventure in Venezuela has done something remarkable. It has energized India's opposition, not in horror or protest, which they reserve for their self-righteous statements, but in barely concealed fascination. As Donald Trump rolls up his sleeves and starts talking about who gets conquered next, including territories of a NATO partner like Greenland, the Congress party has suddenly discovered the sanctity of sovereignty. Veteran Congress leader and former Maharashtra CM Prithviraj Chavan even joked about whether Narendra Modi, the Indian PM, might be kidnapped next by Trump. Tongue-in-cheek, perhaps. But jokes have a habit of revealing what lies beneath, what your instincts are, what you're feeling, what you're thinking, especially when they come from such a seasoned political hand. Because let us be honest, the Congress party, pretending to be outraged by regime change abroad, is a bit of a joke, frankly. This is a party that has spent years now soft-peddling regime change right here at home, sometimes nudging it, sometimes hinting at it, sometimes openly yearning for it. Remember March 2023, not so long ago, Rahul Gandhi in the United Kingdom, in Cambridge, in London, on camera, wondering aloud where the EU and the United States were as India's democracy allegedly collapsed. The so-called defenders of democracy, he lamented, were nowhere to be seen. What was that if not a public appeal to foreign powers to intervene politically in India's internal affairs? I remember how the Congress very aggressively defended and said this was not an invitation to a foreign hand. But then please enlighten me what else that was meant to be. The angry, entitled cry of someone raised to believe he can enlist foreign help if elections don't go his way. That's what it was. Now, the BJP has long accused the Congress of flirting with this foreign hand, of courting figures like George Soros and his ecosystem, famous for pouring billions to represent vested interests in inconvenient governments, of hoping that global pressure, deep state impulses, or an international mood swing might succeed where elections have not. For the Congress party, it's almost like the regime change sapna is all that is left. It is all that remains now. Add to this the repeated foreign interest around protests here in India, like the farm law agitation and the CAA protests. Opposition leaders openly dreaming of Bangladesh-style revolutions and Nepal-style anarchy, fully aware that in those countries, foreign hands were not just interested observers in the violence, but active participants, culminating, for example, in the installation of Mohammad Yunus in Dhaka in 2024. So when Trump shifts regime change from planting seeds to sending helicopters into a sovereign country, from moral sermons to the Delta Force, do not be surprised that India's opposition is somehow feeling enthused and energized suddenly, because suddenly regime change is the flavor of the season and it seems more accessible than ever before. This is not so much about outrage as it is about opportunity. I can well imagine that some of you will be wondering, why is Shiv once again attacking the opposition on this issue? The answer to that is it's important to expose the dangerous duplicity of a core part of our democratic system, the opposition, which has normalized fantasizing and weaponizing a foreign hand. 2 weeks ago, Reuters, the world's largest news agency, ran a column titled "India Begins to Ponder Life After Narendra Modi." A completely speculative, rootless column, and yet it was pushed out because narrative matters, signals matter, everything is connected, the mahal and the mood has to be created. Everything is connected. Don't be fooled. The opposition can perform outrage over India's careful handling of a Trump spoiling for fights in every direction, but the truth is simpler, my friends. Tired of failing electorally, year after year, regime change is exactly what the opposition is now fantasizing about, and even they cannot deny it.
सवाल है कि क्या जो वेनेजुएला में हुआ इस तरह से कुछ होगा क्या भारत में? हमारे प्रधानमंत्री को किडनैप करके ट्रम्प साहब ले जाएंगे क्या? अब वही बात बची है बस.
इस प्रकार का घटिया ओछा बयान, मतलब कि एक व्यक्ति का विरोध करते करते देश के लोकतंत्र का विरोध, देश की नीतियों का विरोध, देश का विरोध करना और इस प्रकार की कामना, इस प्रकार की दुआ मांगना, मतलब सिंदूर में भारत की सेना का अपमान किया। ये वही व्यक्ति है जिन्होंने ऑपरेशन महादेव के नाम पर सवाल उठाए थे तो सनातन का अपमान किया, और अब भारत की स्टेट का अपमान। पर ये तो राहुल गांधी की लाइन है।
पृथ्वीराज चौहान की मानसिकता दिन प्रतिदिन गिरते जा रही है। वो राजनीति करते करते अब देश के विरोध में आ गए हैं। किसी की मजाल नहीं है पूरी दुनिया में जो भारत की तरफ आंख उठाकर देख ले। ये सरकारें आएंगी जाएंगी, पार्टियां रहेंगी, नेता रहेंगे जाएंगे, लेकिन यह देश का संविधान और लोकतंत्र इतना मजबूत है कि किसी माई के लाल में इतनी हिम्मत नहीं कि हमारे प्रधानमंत्री या राष्ट्रपति को कोई उठा ले जाए।
Everyone in Venezuela is feeling that it is humiliating कि उनके कंट्री का जो हेड है वो जैसा भी था, डिक्टेटर था, जो भी था, लेकिन इज ह्यूमिलिएटिंग फॉर वेनेजुएला जो ट्रंप और अमेरिका ने उनके साथ किया। और आप चाहते हैं अपने देश में ऐसा हो? आपकी इतनी नफरत है मोदी जी के साथ, तो भगवान से प्रेयर करिए ना अगर आप मोदी जी का बुरा चाहते हैं।
So the reality of this current situation is that Donald Trump has made regime change a live affair, something that you're watching play out right in front of your eyes in real time. But regime change as a concept has been in the works for a very long time. And as I've just demonstrated, the Congress and the opposition have very much been dreaming about it for a while now. Let me give you a few more details to give you instances of how soft peddling regime change has very much been on the menu as far as the Indian opposition is concerned. Consider some of these examples. I talked to you about 2023, Rahul Gandhi in London, where he wondered why the EU and the US were oblivious to Indian democracy coming undone. What was he implying? In that same trip, Rahul Gandhi was in Cambridge, where he wondered why the US and Europe were ignoring the so-called death of democracy. Same trip, where Rahul Gandhi was speaking in UK's parliament, he insinuated that the West was ignoring India's democratic collapse. What was he suggesting? That the West should not ignore India and should somehow intervene in India's democratic system? Cut forward 2 years in 2025, during the Bihar election, Rahul Gandhi famously went off to Colombia and other Latin American countries where he said, once again, that democracy is dead, and wondered why the world was ignoring this so-called death of democracy in India, once again insinuating that the West should intervene. Rahul Gandhi was accused of meeting George Soros-linked groups and individuals like Donald Lu, who've been famous for an active role in regime change operations in different parts of the world. In 2024-25, the vote chori campaign became the big war cry of the Congress party, where the opposition sought foreign scrutiny in some ways of EVMs and India's electoral process. In the same year, Sonia Gandhi's links, alleged links, she was accused of association with the UN Democracy Fund and other organizations linked to George Soros, which were never finally proven, but those were allegations. The same year, a Bangladesh-like situation where Congress netas threatened anarchy against the government. And we all know that Bangladesh and the so-called revolution there was a deep state action by the United States to install a puppet like Mohammad Yunus. So that's what the Congress was dreaming of. 2025, you had a RJD neta threatening a Nepal-like situation. So you don't need to be a cynic to believe that there has been a very powerful foreign hand in all of these big global affairs. Let's talk about regime change. The comment that has been made by Prithviraj Chavan, even though it was tongue-in-cheek, but it has set off a political blaze in the current context, with the BJP accusing the Congress of being desperate and fantasizing now of Modi being kidnapped because they simply can't win an election. Sanjay Jha, political analyst, supports Prithviraj Chavan, has been with the Congress in the past as well. Welcome, Sanjay. Tushar Gupta is a political analyst. He supports the BJP on this issue. Welcome, Tushar. But I'll start with Mamta Kale, who's a political analyst associated with the BJP. Mamta, your reactions to Prithviraj Chavan. He's not the kind of leader who usually makes flippant remarks. He's usually very measured. He's been a former chief minister of Maharashtra, seasoned politician, shuns the spotlight. And here he is making a comment which at best can be interpreted as being tongue-in-cheek. Will something like Venezuela happen in India? Will Trump kidnap our prime minister? What do you think? What does it say to you?
Good evening, and thank you so much for having me on your show again, Mr. Roor. I really feel that the senior leader, so-called senior leader of Congress Party, Mr. Prithviraj Chavan, with the age, has lost the ability to think. And this is not the first time when he has made such a derogatory comment. And let me be very clear, here that this comment which he has made, which is shameful, is not against the Honorable Prime Minister of India. No, it is against our country. If he is wishing that Trump comes and does the same operation like Venezuela in India and picks up our prime minister from the prime minister's house, then what is he wishing? He is wishing everything against India. And you remember, Shiv, a few months ago, he had said something very derogatory about Operation Sindoor. He had said that the India as a nation and our armed forces had lost Operation Sindoor at the day one. What was that? What was that? Was that the hatred against the Prime Minister or the BJP? No, it is the blatant hate of Congress Party, Gandhi Congress, Mr. Chavan against our country, India. And that is what, surprises me. But for how long these guys are going to continue like this? See, I am a student of political science,
that is the precise
and I
reason
want
why I
a
am so surprised. It is the precise reason why I am surprised, because I know Prithviraj Chavan and I have done a debate on his previous comments like you just mentioned, Mamta. And something seems out of place. Tushar, why do you think he said this? Why do you think Prithviraj Chavan of all people has said something like this?
Good evening, Shiv. The best answer you only gave in your introduction. It's the liberal wet dream now. I mean, there is no other reason to think such a frivolous comment would be made against the Prime Minister and more so against the sovereignty of India. One has to understand that even if this is a tongue-in-cheek remark, it's against the sovereignty of India. My question to anyone who's supporting the opposition, this is not against Narendra Modi. This is against the sovereignty of India. Are you today telling us, the opposition, that in order to have BJP out of power, you're even willing to risk the independence we got in 1947, you're even willing to risk the sovereignty of India? I mean, we have had the leader of opposition going out, asking the EU, asking the US, why aren't they interfering in our democracy? So there is a precedent. What worries me now is that these people are not even understanding how India really works. In Venezuela, you had several defections within the institutions, within the military, and that was one of the causes also why what happened, how it happened. But one has to understand India is not Venezuela. Our state capacity is far more formidable. And to even assume that something like this can happen in India, for it to be wished by someone like Prithviraj Chavan, it can only explain
whether or not India is vulnerable to a regime change operation is a completely separate issue. I am simply talking about this, like you rightly said also, it's a, and the thing is, Sanjay, Prithviraj Chavan can issue clarifications and say that, he's been quoted out of context, it was tongue-in-cheek, there's a context to what he was saying. But the truth, like even Tushar referred to, is that this soft peddling of regime change, invoking the foreign hand, wondering aloud why the EU and the UK and the United States don't intervene in India's democratic collapse, has shown that this is a very sort of mainstream thinking in the Congress party. They very much like the idea of regime change.
Shiv, if you want to have a very fair debate today, you have launched a strong fusillade against the Congress, and you have had two previous speakers who are anti the Congress and the opposition. If you give me just about fair time, I will actually...
Fair time always on this show, Sanjay.
Yeah,
always.
Okay. So let me establish why what Prithviraj Chavan said is being misconstrued. Look at the context of his conversation. He was talking about the way the Indian government has buckled down under Donald Trump. Let me give you a couple of examples why that should be a worry. And now it is being actively discussed all over the world, if not in India, that Narendra Modi is a weak prime minister. Donald Trump has called him out 70 times on the ceasefire. And it's gone beyond that, by the way. It's not just a Trump rhetoric. I am no fan of Trump. Trump is a complete different proposition altogether. But they have given an award to a guy called Ricky Gill, an Indian American, actually calling it, and I read the whole story, the Distinguished Action Award. America is now formally celebrating people who they say negotiated the ceasefire between India and Pakistan within 3 days that Mr. Modi denies. You have the Chinese foreign minister. Shiv, you are a pretty strong national security wonk. The foreign minister of China claims that he brokered the ceasefire. And we haven't seen Mr. Modi or his government really take any of these foreign powers to contradict them. Now it's getting so formalized. The US State Department said it as well. Mr. Chavan's basic point is, are we dealing currently with a political executive at the top who is big on bombastic rhetoric, and when it comes to the crux, has been absolutely disastrous in protecting India's, what I would call as a storied image of the past? Two other points on Russian oil. Everybody's seen that. I mean, Donald Trump is openly saying that Narendra Modi did the entire Russian oil compromise to make me happy.
But our import of Russian oil has gone up last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Sanjay, our Russian oil imports have gone up. Reported in the Hindu.
Here is the point. Well, today you have this very extraordinary situation where there have been denials in terms of Russian crude being, coming to the doorstep of a very big Indian company.
No, but Reliance is only one Reliance is one importer of that oil. Overall, our imports of Russian oil have gone up, so that's completely false.
But Shiv, let me make the bigger point, right?
Yeah,
The bigger point is Tushar talked about national sovereignty. Well, let me tell you, there is also news out there in the middle that we have become so weak diplomatically that we now we have to use a lobbying firm to get appointments for the external affairs minister with the US administration, and the foreign secretary, and various members of the Indian, foreign delegations. So this government looks extremely weak, highly compromised, and everybody knows. Mr.
Okay,
Modi
you made a point, but I don't know what any of that has to do with the principal opposition party of the country fantasizing about regime change. You made a point about the ceasefire, but even on the ceasefire point, Sanjay, like you said, I do track national security. I find it duplicitous and bizarre that the Congress can suggest that India has kowtowed or bent down to Trump when we are literally in a bruising trade war and tariff war with the man who basically only understands transactions. We are refusing a transaction with him.
Yes.
That itself is proof that we are not bending down to Trump. So I don't know what exactly you mean. But Tushar, do you want to respond to some of those specific points that Sanjay made?
Again, it's all about believing. If Sanjay Jha is, heard, for the last 11 years, we had a weak prime minister. For the last 11 years, our government is compromised. For the last 11 years, the people find the BJP very weak. But the people have voted again and again, and they understand who's weak and who's compromised and who's actually leading the country. My simple question is, if you're talking about regime change, how does it make you anti-Congress? If today we are sitting here calling out Mr. Chavan's statement, how does it make us anti-Congress and not pro-sovereignty? How is being pro-sovereignty, pro-India now suddenly being equal to anti-Congress? This is the part I do not really understand. All of us on this panel collectively should call out remarks like these and the kind of remark Rahul Gandhi made when he said EU and US should interfere in India's democracy when India's institutions are attacked on foreign soil. My simple question is that if you are willing for something like Venezuela to happen in India, are you saying that India's institutions should be compromised, they should collapse, India's military should be compromised, it should be collapsed? Do you even realize that in the thirst for power, what kind of a proposition you are advocating for the country?
Let Sanjay take that on. Sanjay, the point being made also, and I'll just add to what Tushar has said, which is that Prithviraj Chavan's point, you've put it into context. Even I sort of take it with a pinch of salt. He may have meant it in a certain tongue-in-cheek manner. But Rahul Gandhi's points where he said, where is the West when democracy is collapsing, which he said in March 2023 in the United Kingdom. Many of the other comments that have been made, about regime change or insinuating regime change has shown that the Congress is very much amenable to this idea. And which is why something like what's happened in Venezuela is so exciting to the Indian opposition right now. You've seen leader after leader practically show adulation for what's going on.
Yeah, but before I come to Rahul Gandhi, here are two more examples of why Mr. Modi's government is over-invested in America, which is now playing footsie with Pakistan in broad daylight. Can you imagine the failure of foreign policy, Shiv?
But that's a foreign policy debate, Sanjay.
Modi government, because it has been a mammoth failure on foreign policy. Let's take one example. Today, Pakistan is in bed with both China and America, and India is finding itself ostracized. Can you imagine what a massive failure this government has been? Let's take a look at both Israel and Venezuela. We are towing the American line. The fact remains that even if you look at Venezuela, I have not seen this government actually.
No, but Sanjay, there's I'm sorry, I don't wish to interrupt you at all, but I somehow see this as a bit of a hypocrisy. Doesn't any of this suggest that India is actually standing up to Trump and not bowing down to China in many ways? The fact that you call us a pariah right now, it means that we're not towing anybody's line.
But let me tell you the problem. The problem with Mr. Modi's government has been that it has, since the very beginning, made America the cornerstone of its foreign policy. And it has.
But that's a foreign policy debate. I get that. Yeah.
Donald Trump has pulled the rug from under Narendra Modi.
But Donald Trump, but Sanjay, you must agree that Donald Trump is a very, very dodgy character to hitch your wagon politically.
Who asked Mr. Modi
and that's what the Congress appears to be doing right now. The Congress is
he's the one who said "Abki baar Trump Sarkar."
Congress said dead economy. Rahul Gandhi said dead economy. Trump said dead economy. Rahul Gandhi said dead economy. Trump says, I ensured the ceasefire. The Congress says, why aren't you responding to him when India did it multiple times? The Congress seems to want to echo Trump with everything, and that's the reason why, even this Venezuela attack seems to be the flavor of the season, even within the Congress corridors. Mamta, you wanted to say something?
Of course, yes. First of all, Mr. Jha, what makes you think that I am anti-opposition if I talk about Mother India? Sir, I am a student of political science and I believe that every country must have a strong opposition, but as opposition which is constructive, not as destructive as we have in today's time, sir. Point number one. Point number two, you have just said that Modi government is a highly compromised government. I will remind you 2-3 things, sir, and I will give you the examples of compromised government. A compromised government had done a MOU in 2008 with China, which was signed by present leader of opposition of this country, Mr. Rahul Gandhi. That is called highly compromised government. Number one. Number two, the compromised government is when the Congress party and the Gandhi family takes money from China in the name of donation in Rajiv Gandhi Foundation. The compromised government is when we are fighting Doklam, the member of parliament and senior leader of Congress party goes and meets the Chinese diplomats. That is being compromised, sir. And number three, it breaks my heart being a service officer's wife when I hear again, time and again, the same narrative and same statement from every congressman that we did the ceasefire just because China and US wanted us to do. DGMO to DGMO.
Let Tushar quickly add to that and we'll get Sanjay to answer comprehensively.
We did what we did.
Look, to say that our foreign policy has tremendously failed because America is trying to find a new closeness.
Yeah.
Shiv, to say that our foreign policy has tremendously failed because Pakistan is close to China and America is a terrible reading of the geopolitical dynamics. We all know Pakistan is surviving on handouts from China. We all know the geopolitical utility of Pakistan for America given the situation in Iran and Afghanistan. So this is not about India being ostracized. If anything, we are standing up to both China and America. Have we forgotten what the Indian government did with Huawei when the 5G trials came up? Have we forgotten that Donald Trump is urging India to open up its entire farm and dairy sector to the Western farmers, which the political class is refusing to do? So we have to understand what's really going on between India and America and India and China before making these absurd conclusions.
Sanjay, this was a regime change discussion. You've made it about foreign policy, but you've got your response from both our guests. Take it away. We've almost run out of time, so quick answer.
Yeah, quick one, Shiv. It was never about regime change at all. I think the fundamental point was about tariffs and foreign policy. I think the lady talked about China. Well, let me tell you, Mr. Modi bans TikTok and runs $100 billion trade deficit with China. Nothing can be more ridiculous and absurd in terms of priorities. Number two, please let me finish. Do not interrupt me.
The Congress party had sent Mr. Manishankar Ayyar also to Pakistan for regime change.
Shiv, if you can tell her not to interrupt me, please. Mamta ji, please. Number two, in the
No,
neighborhood.
I'm just putting
in the
facts across
Just a
you.
minute. Can I speak without an interruption, ma'am? Let me give you the classic example of the F grade of Narendra Modi's foreign policy. Under the Congress, East Pakistan became Bangladesh. Under Mr. Modi, Bangladesh is becoming East Pakistan. Do I need to say more?
How it's, you know what, I can
have no
debate with
answers.
you
Don't
for an
even
hour
try.
on this issue.
Don't even try.
I would request Mr. Arur to do a debate on this subject and have you and me. Let's do one-on-one on this, sir. Let's do
Bring
one-on-one
Mr.
this, and
Jaishankar.
I
Bring
will,
Mr. Jaishankar. I'm ready for
destroy
Mr.
your
Jaishankar.
lies with facts.
Madam, you take
my
a break.
promise and my
Let me have
challenge
Mr.
to you
Jaishankar
on
for
this
dinner.
national television.
Let
Don't
Mr.
say
Jaishankar
anything
come
or
and have you
everything.
for dinner. Don't worry.
Congress cannot.
Please? Can I?
Last 30 seconds, Tushar. Last 30 seconds.
Again, since Mr. Jha has now made it a debate about tariffs, Mr. Jha, we did not just ban TikTok, we also banned Huawei from our 5G trials, which you are conveniently skipping. If you're talking about the trade deficit, yes, it's high, but we're also going for manufacturing in India, which goes against the long-term Chinese interest. So you have to look at all the dynamics, the trade dynamics before reaching a conclusion. You cannot just conveniently cherry pick and make an argument. That's not how trade works. That's not how economics works.
I'm going to end the discussion there only because I'm out of time. But before this broadcast, I recorded an interview with Jeffrey Sachs of Columbia University, hugely illuminating on many of the points that we've raised today. I'm going to be putting it out later tonight and tomorrow morning as well. I'll send you all the link. It's an incredible, truly eye-opening interview of the state of play, and it flies in the face of much of the wisdom that many of us have in Trump's new world. So we'll wait for that. But thank you very much, Sanjay, Mamta and Tushar, for being with me here tonight on India Matters.